Part 2 of today's lesson, we're graphing linear equations. Linear means straight line. However, we're not using the slope-intercept form this time. We're using x and y intercepts. So it's another way to graph, a good method, especially when you have x and y on one side of the equal sign. And so we go ahead and use the intercept method by setting one of the variables equal to 0. So let's take a look at our first one here. We've got 2x minus 3y equals negative 6. If I want to find the x-intercept, I'm going to set y equal to 0. You see, if I set that equal to 0, all I have left is 2x equals negative 6. So I do the division, divide by 2, and you see how x equals negative 3. So that is the point with that I go ahead and graph. I go over 3 spaces on the x-axis, put a dot there. Do the same thing again. Let's go ahead and find the y-intercept this time. So for the y-intercept, I'm going to end up setting x equal to 0. So I set that x equal to 0. When I do that, this term cancels out. I'm left with negative 3y equals negative 6. Do the division, divide by negative 3, and I've got my value, y equals 2. So all I'm going to do is just go 2 spaces in the y direction, put the dot there, and draw the line between those 2 points. And that's it. So that's the x and y intercept method to graph. You're coming up with 2 separate points. Sometimes people end up writing this as 1 point, but it's not. It's 2 separate points. See, this is negative 3 comma 0 is this point. This point is 0 comma 2. Alright, well this one's a tough one because when I find the y-intercept, I end up having a fraction as a coefficient. And so when I solve, I want to multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to multiply this side by 2 over 1. And so when I do that, I do the same thing over here. 2 over 1 is the same thing as just 2. When we do that work, we've got y equals 6. So that's the y-intercept. I go up 6 spaces, put a dot. Well, the next one is negative x equals 3. So you've got to bring down your signs with the term. So when I do the work there, I'm going to multiply or divide by negative 1. Either way, it means the same thing. So x equals negative 1. So that is my x-intercept. So I have to go over, and actually this looks like a 3 instead of a 1. So let's change this right now. It should be negative 3. 3 times negative 1 makes negative 3. So we go over 3 spaces to the left, put the dot there, and draw a line between those 2 points. So there is our line. Let's take a look at our next one here. This one is interesting because when we go ahead and find out the x-intercept, it doesn't come up with an exact point. It comes up with a fraction of a point. So when we do the division, divide by 3, we've got 4/3. That is the value of x. Well, now you need to change it to a mixed number so you have a little better understanding of it. So 3 goes into 4 one time with 1 left over. So 1 and 1/3 is the value of x. So what I need to do is go over 1 space and 1/3 of a space. So this is the tough part about the x-y-intercept method. When we have a fraction of a point, you can't be as accurate on the graphing as you could otherwise. And so we go ahead and do the next one. Negative 2y equals 4. So you're going to just multiply by negative 1/2 or divide by negative 2. It means the same thing. So y equals negative 2. So that's the y-intercept. So I go down 2, put the dot there, and draw a line between those 2 points. So this method works fine, gives us a good understanding of what the graph looks like. The only time it's tough is when the points are really close together. Sometimes it's hard to see how steep it is when the points are really close together. The other time we have a problem is if it crosses at the origin. If it crosses at the origin, there's only one intercept. And they're both the same. X and y are both 0. Otherwise, we can use this method. Negative 5x equals 10 is what we'll set to find the x-intercept, and 2y equals 10 to find the y-intercept. So I do the division, divide by negative 5, I've got x at negative 2. So I go over 2 spaces, put the dot there. Over on this side, I'm dividing by 2. I get y as 5. So I have to go up 5 spaces on the y-axis, put the dot there, and then draw the line between those 2 points. Well, those are some of the problems that you're going to, similar problems to what you'll see on tonight's homework. Good luck.